I want all of you to get up out of your chairs.
We stand at the doorstep of the morning.
What is in motion but a multitude of clouds?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Video Shaman channel here at the Congress of Wizards. This is our next episode. Wouldn't say it's the second episode. We've had quite a few so far, but this is our second. Let's just go with number two.
Number two.
John, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Alex. Pretty good. Thanks for having this space again, saving this space, creating this space for us to come and have these nice little chats. Another sunny day in California.
Yeah, we are having a lovely summer so far.
I guess it's not. Yeah, it is. It's almost summer, right? When is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I
don't even know when the fuck. I don't even know what month.
I'm
just so lost in what time and everything right now. So I don't know what day of the week, what month.
Yeah.
What fucking year?
Because you've been out here for about a month now, right?
Like 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And then including a week of travel before that. So yeah, I've been gone from Milwaukee for 6 weeks. Yeah, but I'm today driving around. I'm like, because I had to go downtown again today, and I used my phone to navigate me there. But then I was like, no, I know how to get back. And then I was like, okay, now I'm all right. I kind of got the gist of. I got the map in my head, and I kind of know which direction. So I've been here long enough that I know, neighborhoods and highways and stuff now. So
yeah,
I've been out here long enough.
And that goes for me too. Every time I've come down to San Diego, downtown, I would have to use my GPS, but it's starting to come to the point like, all right, I know my way around.
Got a little
here.
feel. Yeah, it's not that big, San Diego's not that big. Which is nice. I actually think it's borderline like perfect size city with its own little, pockets and its own little areas, and very easy to get everywhere, which is pretty great so far, minus the traffic today. But I think there was an accident, so that was the only reason I had to pop off the highway.
Dude, yeah. So speaking of accidents, there was a situation that happened up at Uncle Bruce and Aunt Margaret's over the past week. So went up there. I got there on Tuesday, and then did Wednesday, Thursday. Or no, I got there Monday, so it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We did filming. My dad came up on Friday, so we had a bit of there was, because Aunt Margaret's birthday party, sort of more of like a summer party on the Sunday. So there was just that weekend was getting things party ready, and so my dad and Uncle Bruce went down into town to get some stuff, I think at Home Depot or something like that, and they were on their way home, and it took them a while. And then I'm sitting with Bob, Laser Bob, 4D Bob. Technically he's 4D Bob. I mean, that's what he goes by now, but I still like Laser Bob.
I like Laser Bob too.
Laser Bob.
Even though I've never met him, but I like that name.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so cool hanging out with him. He's such a wizard, Pleiadian wizard man. But he was calibrating the entire sound system in their living room, because the last time my dad was up there a couple weeks ago, everything just like went haywire and all the settings were fucked up, and they reset the receiver, and so anyway, it got all fucked up. So Bob was like spending a couple hours just getting everything fixed. And then we see the phone was ringing, and Aunt Margaret picked it up, and immediately we could tell something bad had happened. We weren't really sure. We were kind of just sitting there watching. It's like, are you okay? Yeah. You sound shook up. Like, what's going on? Turns out, that hill that you have to drive up Felton Empire, that really windy road to get to Uncle Bruce's. So Uncle Bruce and my dad are riding up in his car, in Uncle Bruce's car. They come around a corner, and they see a guy on a bicycle coming down, like flying down the road on the other side, from on top of the hill. They came around the corner just quick enough to see this guy just like make the turn a little bit too wide. Just went flipped right over the edge, just disappeared. And there was no one there. And they're like, stop. So they like got out of the car. My dad went and looked, and it was like a 10-foot drop, just cliff right off of the edge of the road. And this guy wasn't even there. He like fell and like hit a tree and rolled over into another part. So my dad like went down there and like stood by him. And this guy, they think he might have broke his back.
Oh man.
You know, I've seen people riding bicycles on this road. Always freaks me out. Like, it's so windy, so narrow. People fly down that road.
Yikes, dude. And did they called the ambulance and stuff?
Yeah, they called 911. It took maybe like 25 minutes for people to get there.
Well, I mean, I guess on the positive side, the guy's lucky that
It's super lucky.
that he was spotted, and because if he just flew off the road, then he could have just been laying there.
Could be there right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, so my dad was trying to just keep him conscious. He has some emergency preparedness, training.
Sure.
So he was just like, "Are you okay? Can you talk?" And the guy was grunting. Can you speak? Yeah. He's like, "All right, just keep grunting." And they got some information. Turns out this guy was just like visiting from some other town. Had no idea where he was. He didn't know what happened. If they weren't there at that moment, that guy would still be there.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be dead.
Yeah.
So
Yikes.
So Uncle Bruce was like managing the traffic while my dad was staying with this guy. 2 fire trucks, 2 ambulances, a whole bunch of cops came. They were the only witnesses, so they had to wait to give the statement.
Well, a couple of good Samaritans.
Yeah. It was.
That's an intense thing to see, though. Like, I wouldn't want to see that too. But yeah, good. It's good that they pulled over and got him some help, and hopefully he'll be better for it.
Yeah. I doubt he'll be doing that again. That's like a 127-hour scenario. Like, you're out biking, no one knows where you are on this like crazy fucking road.
Yeah.
How would you?
Yeah.
Every time it's again. Then I, a couple of days later, after the party and everything, I went up to Oakland to film some work, do some work with David Hanscom, the spinal surgeon guy. And I got home kind of late, and I was coming up that hill when it was dark, and I was just I was nervous already. I don't like driving at nighttime after my car accident with the cow.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm riding up the hill, and a fucking deer like bolts across the road, and it's just like, I must have went like 3 miles an hour up that hill the rest of the time.
Smart.
Just thinking about it. So that was good Samaritan. Like, oh, you saved somebody's life again today, Dad. And he's like, fucking shouldn't have been biking on that road.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, hopefully he learns from that. Hopefully he can ride a bike again at some point.
Yeah.
Was the weekend good? I mean, besides that, obviously.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was a very fun gathering. A lot of the usual suspects were there. Yeah, it got like super fucking wild, man. It was such a chill party, and then at night it was just we're all sitting there in a circle, and Bob and this guy Carl are talking about like sine wave frequencies and quantum physics and alternate theory universe shit. Like, wow. It was wild. And one of the cool things that this guy Carl talked about was this new theory, because there's Einstein's theory of relativity that talks about unifying, like how explains gravity and everything. And then you get like the Big Bang, and something they mentioned, which makes a lot of sense. Big Bang is a theory, but after so long of teaching this and talking about it, the word theory kind of gets dropped out, and we just accept it.
It doesn't really have something else count, like a counter argument really at this point either. It's just kind of like we don't have anything better, so this is what we got, and we're just living it as it's a truth because there isn't a prevailing like mainstream alternate theory to that. So it's like this is the best we got.
Yeah, so, it's a totally reasonable assumption based on things like that I'm not smart enough to really understand all about, but like the thing about like redshift, where they could basically look at stars and how things are moving, and based on the patterns, things seem to be expanding. So there's like this expanding effect of the universe is what they can see.
So then you just
so according to that, like, oh well, it must mean that there was all at one point.
Yeah. But
the new theory, it's Einstein Cartan theory, which it's like the theory of relativity, except it includes this thing that honestly David Wilcock talked about a lot with torsion fields and scalar waves and things like that, where there's this twisting of the universe. It removes the whole idea of a Big Bang being necessary. You don't. It's not like it all generated from one point. It's just that expansion can be looked at as just the effect of when the universe twists. So it's basically like there's no beginning or end. Kind of like how energy can't be created or destroyed, yet the Big Bang is like this hypothetical moment where everything was created out of nothing.
Right, but I thought maybe I just made this up, or I was combining theories, but I thought it was like that was part of it. The expansion, like it expands and then it comes back to the one point. I thought that was part of that's not part of the Big Bang theory. It was just like before the Big Bang, there was nothing. And then there was the Big Bang, and now it's just constantly.
I think that's the way a lot of people perceive it. But you're probably right.
In my head, it's like breathing. It would make more sense, right? If there was a a process to it. It wasn't just like a one-off. That really wouldn't. Yeah, that wouldn't make too much sense. But I mean, at this point, it's like look where we are socially. How are we going to expect to understand the origins of the universe properly if we can't fucking govern ourselves properly? It just wouldn't. We don't have the capacity to understand collectively, at least a majority collectively, to understand that kind of stuff when we can't, fucking get our house in order, So it makes sense to me that our understanding would be incomplete because we are very incomplete at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a theme where we kind of come up with a hypothesis about how something works scientifically, and then we pursue learning about it, and then something happens where it's like, oh, yeah, the project was successful, you got all your data, but it also disproves your hypothesis. So, that's like, we were going to do a video, Uncle Bruce and I, on the central dogma of DNA. This hypothesis that DNA is the source of all life. Life is biology is controlled from the DNA, and that information only flows in one direction, from the DNA to the RNA to the protein. So you're made of protein, therefore everything you experience and express is due to the genetics, and there's no changing it. That's the whole Uncle Bruce thing of you're a victim of your DNA. But the central dogma, it's funny because the word dogma means it's essentially a religious belief, belief that you can't question, and that is completely opposite of what science is supposed to be.
Right.
So
question everything,
and so the theory has been disproven over many years, and it was I think it was in the 1980s that it was mainly disproved because they found that there's messenger RNA, because it goes DNA to RNA, which is the copy of the DNA to the protein. The DNA is inside the vault of the nucleus, and the RNA is the copy of the DNA to make the blueprint. You don't take the original constitution out of the out of the hall of records. You make a copy of it. Yeah. But they found out that there was, especially with the AIDS virus or with the HIV virus, the virus itself has a way of injecting its RNA. Like basically the virus has DNA in it, but then what it does, it comes into your cells, sends RNA into your system, which then can go inside of your nucleus and change the way your DNA expresses itself, which is where you get this autoimmune disease from. So it basically, the RNA changes your DNA. So that disproved it right off the bat. And this is all before epigenetics.
And not accepted by everybody, right?
No, it is. That is accepted now. Okay. But it's taken so long, this has all happened over so long of a period of time that it hasn't really truly been adopted.
Right.
So yeah, it's like if you want to look at it scientifically, but this is decades of indoctrination, and this is the way we see things, and it's a unique circumstance. So it's like you go and try to watch videos on gene therapy and things like that, and you find it's like, oh well, the reason why gene therapy isn't what you think it is because of the central dogma, because RNA can't change DNA, but it can.
It can, yeah.
It can, and we don't know. Back to the original thing, is like we don't know. There's still so much to learn about it. But anyway, that was one of those similar things where it's like we had a hypothesis, the central dogma of DNA, or DNA controls the whole function. And then you get to the conclusion of the Human Genome Project. It turns out that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we made a list of all the genes, but there's not enough genes to control everything. So let's just, they're not going to go out of their way to make, to reveal that they're wrong.
Yeah, right.
Not when there's so much money involved.
Right. That's the issue, right? If it was just purely science driven and the quest for knowledge and understanding the universe and ourselves better, then of course they'd be like, oh, this is great. Every new thing would be great. It wouldn't be like, oh, we can't do that because our corporate donors don't want, you have to think about all that stuff. Of course, that's how every aspect of life is these days, but it is kind of a bummer that everything's kind of set back because of, things that have nothing to do with science or advancement or evolution, unfortunately. But we're working on it, I think, slowly but surely. We're poking holes in those systems, and hopefully in our lifetime we'll be able to just have freestyle science, like unhinged science, where you could just follow your nose, follow your experiment, and whatever the conclusion is, then let's adapt that into our lives and live with the new information. It's like, all right, download that information. Oh, I thought it was this way. No, it's this way. Nobody gets offended. Nobody's butthurt about it because they're all this other crap involved. And it's just like, all right, cool. This is new. This is a new understanding. We're doing better. This makes more sense. And now let's move on and use that in our next experiment and figure out things a little bit better for everybody and get ego out of the way. And I mean, how much quicker will we evolve as a species once we're able to just kind of get rid of all those corporate roadblocks and just kind of, I feel like there'll just be that curve where all of a sudden we'll just be like, oh, by the way, we can do this and that and new technology and suffering and hunger, like all this stuff could happen so quickly. It's just a matter of getting a couple of things out of the way. Like I think I saw something recently that literally they've calculated how much it would be to end world hunger. And it's
how much?
It's less money than Bezos has. Like,
my God.
So it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. So once all that, the BS is out of the way, the greed and money stuff, even though on the way here, when I was driving through those really nice canyons, I was like, damn, I want a lot of money in one of these nice houses.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking like that a lot.
Yeah.
but once, like, we literally have the ability to fix all of our major problems as a global race, but we're just not doing it. So once we get those things out of the way, and hopefully science will kind of drive that, but it'll definitely be the thing that benefits mostly from people just being able to be free. And here's a $50 million grant. Go fucking do some weird shit, and don't do gain of function shit. Don't tempt the gods. But but
I would do anything for science, but I won't do that.
Meatloaf doing science.
Yeah. Meatloaf science.
Meatloaf science. What is meatloaf? I want to know the science of actual
meatloaf.
Meatloafologist.
It goes well with carrots. You got to finely chop the carrots. Yeah, I mean that whole thing with authoritarianism or just a central source of infallibility is not scientific at all. That's like the thing that science was born out of in the days of the Holy Roman Empire, where you had this source of infallible knowledge and you couldn't question that. And if you questioned it, you'd be killed for it. And
some of the great minds were literally killed.
Absolutely.
Because of that.
A lot of them were.
Yeah.
And that's science is the whole idea behind it, is to have free thinking people to question narratives,
anything, wherever it takes you.
Yeah.
It's like The Wire, everything always goes back to The Wire show, but it's like anytime you just follow the money, it's like, no, we want this arrest, we want that arrest. It's like when you start following the money and doing all this thing, you get to the core of the root of the problem. And if they were allowed to do that, they would make the city better. Like Baltimore would be better if Lester Freeman was able to actually follow the money and take down Clay Davis and clean up the stuff. But if science were like that, every time they follow whatever the data says, if they get too close to something else, it's like, hey, stepping on our toes now, and we can't have you do that. We got to shut you down. Sorry. So
Yeah. And it's happening. It's not going to less likely to happen from a central source and more likely to happen from independent research groups and people that are willing to just put their credibility on the line. Copernicus is a great, perfect example of that, where he was a priest and he worked within the church and was in charge of creating the calendar system for all the ceremonies, and then got to a point where he realized that, you know, that the whole calendar would work a lot better if we took the Earth out of the center of the universe and made it revolving around the sun. But he couldn't publish it, so he waited until his death. The moment of his death is when he's like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, here's my last book." And
it changes everything.
It changes everything, and they couldn't fucking prosecute him after that, obviously, because he was he was already dead. And
jokes on us.
Yeah, so people are willing to put their thing on the line, and that's like, it's amazing that quantum physics came out in the 1920s. Like, that should be the immediate noteworthy thing right there. This science that shows that everything is made out of energy and there is no separation. That's all complete illusion. Uncle Bruce says it all the time, that quantum physics is the most valid of all sciences, and it sounds like an anecdotal thing, and at the same time, I feel like it's one of those completely misunderstood sciences. Like,
I think it's on purpose to make it anytime I think of quantum physics, I think of Star Trek shit. You know, you think of like, whoa, sci-fi, like that's out, like it's like abstract. It's not something that's like that is real at the moment. I feel like that's how it's been advertised to like the layman to make us not think that it's like legitimate. It's like, oh, you want a de-energizer too? You want to be able to transport people and speed, you know, just beyond the speed of light travel. Like, that's kind of, I feel like it's lumped in with those sci-fi ideas.
Yeah,
just to make it seem like it's less real.
Yeah, right. And it's so complicated. There's still so much we don't know.
That's also part of it too, right? It's very complicated.
Yeah, it's kind of like epigenetics at the same time. Like, epigenetics and quantum physics, even though they're well understood and valid sciences, a lot of the people that go in and try to talk about them, or from a mainstream point of view, I feel like they're really missing the inherent paradigm shift that comes with these understandings. Like, the whole idea of quantum physics, yeah, okay, is it a particle, is it a wave, is it real, or is it, you know, an illusion? Like, these whole separate things. But it's like, by definition, quantum physics shows that everything's made out of energy and there's no separation. That is understated as a major, like, okay, yeah, it came out in the 20s. Why isn't our world completely changed?
Years ago.
Yeah, and they got things like the particle accelerator that are, you know, Large Hadron Collider, David Wilcock, you know, Stargate, evil reptilian.
Did you know that's where he came from? He came through the particle accelerator.
David?
Yeah, that was actually his mother's birth canal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was the first. He invented the Hadron Collider for sure.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. I mean, there's no other way, really. That he. I mean, it would add so much more credibility to his life story.
Totally.
He's not only the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce and Rasputin, but he's also born of the particle accelerator.
Yeah.
They were looking for the graviton particle, and they found David Wilcock.
I hear you've been looking for me.
This comes out like Doctor Strange. And his hair is floating with a sequins jacket. I am from the future of another timeline.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, there's been a lot. I mean, obviously with all this fucking alien stuff right now, like, there's been so much stuff in the mainstream. I've talked about this before with you. It just bothers me that every time some, you know, actual person who's taking this seriously is being interviewed, it's fucking on
Tucker Carlson.
Fox News, Tucker Carlson. I hate that so much.
That pisses me off.
I guess that's the only way. I mean, I sent you that one with like Cuomo on CNN, you know, where he's like, actually, they're not bringing him on to mock them, obviously.
Right. Those two guys.
We're past that point apparently now, where people aren't just brought on to be mocked.
Yeah.
But
can't do that anymore.
There's just so much. It's just so wild, and it just makes you ask so many questions. But I think they have to. like a week is the date for Congress?
I think it's the 25th.
20. Okay, so in June sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Did you hear what they said? Like,
the New York Times thing was like, we can't say that it's this, but we can't say that it's not. Basically,
yeah, and
it's not China, it's not Russia,
but it could be. It's not alien, but it could be.
I mean, how? I understand confirming that it's alien is like
you can't do that on like a side, like on. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you're just saying like, how can you justify alien? Because alien itself is the disconnect, so you can't prove something is not, unless, of course, like if they have to admit a lot of other things, like our technology is not at this point. We're only at this point. And we know for a fact that they are 100, 1,000 years in advance of this, so they'd have to concede a lot of stuff to actually say that it's extraterrestrial, obviously. And they'd also have to backtrack and admit that they've been mocking people and ruining people's careers and lives for 70 plus years or whatever it is.
And also like,
so of course but like if we think about it, of course they're going to come out and be like, man, maybe it's this, maybe I don't know. Here it is. It's not this, it's not that, but it's not this or that. It's like just checking off what it's not, basically. He's like, I didn't make this. He didn't make this.
Yeah.
Bob didn't make this. We're not lying about it. We're pretty sure it exists.
As far as we know, we don't know.
As far as we know, we don't know.
And see, that's the most hilarious thing to me when the Pentagon's like, the Pentagon. Yeah. We're not talking about the New York Post here. We're talking about the fucking most heavily defended, highly sophisticated.
Except for that one day.
Yeah, except for that one day where a frame went missing. Oh yeah, we no other angles. Sorry about it. See that again? It's the whole thing. It's like these fucking people.
Right. Let's go through their history. Like, what's the source here? They've lied about. We assume that they're lying about pretty much everything. Anything that you think about that they've actually come out and made a statement about, whether it's the Iraq War, whether it's about terrorism, whether it's about money here and there. It's like, they're probably lying about everything, and they have an incentive to lie. Obviously, their intelligence is their money, is their currency. So they have to modify the intelligence, and they have to control the intelligence. So they're doing their best they can right now. But just a lot of people, questioning on the internet. It's like, why now?
Yeah,
what's the thing? So a lot of people are guessing like there's something coming that they can't control. There's some information that they're trying to get in front of, to kind of cover their ass, because of course this has been in the works for 70, 80, 100 years. There've been sightings, forever, but well,
at least,
at least in America and stuff like that, there've been reported incidents for 70, 80, 90 years.
Yeah.
And so they've obviously been aware of it, but it's just like, why right now? And what are they getting out of it? Because they wouldn't be doing this unless they were going to use it in some way. And of course we've talked about the faux alien invasion to get more money for technology and more fear, and like the new Al Qaeda is aliens, of course, so what's the next Patriot Act is the next global Patriot, like it's, of course we can see those kind of things, and of course they're going to try to make money off of this, and of course they're going to try to manipulate the masses and use it to their advantage, but they could have done that 10 years ago. They could do it in 20 years. There must be something to make it happen right now.
My thought behind why they're doing it right now. Well, first of all, question is, okay, let's go back a little bit here. I was talking about this with my dad earlier and watched some videos about this stuff that's been going on. And what it looks like is Hillary Clinton. The plan was Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the president, and that was going to be the big hoopla disclosure event. John Podesta, creepy John Podesta.
The emails, right?
The emails, like he's a very public. He's very public about his fascination about aliens and UFOs and stuff.
Does he still hold a position in
I don't think he's in the spotlight as much anymore.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't really see him. I mean, he had a lot of. There's also the whole fucking Pizzagate, like
spaghetti
pedophile shit going on. But I think from what it looks and sounds like, was the idea was when Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president, they were going to make that was going to be the disclosure that
thing
we were envisioning with Obama. Like they were building to that. They had that whole series of past presidents, and Hillary Clinton coming on to Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel asking them the question, like, if I were president, my hand would still be hot from swearing on the Bible, and I would immediately go to where they keep all the files on Area 51, and I would find out if there's aliens. And he asked this to Bill Clinton. He's like, did you find anything? And Bill Clinton's like, no, man, I didn't find it. Look back.
Yeah, right. He said he looked, right.
And then Obama comes on, and then Jimmy asks him the same question, and Obama's like, well, that's exactly why you wouldn't be president, because that's what you would do. And then he's like, we're not allowed. And Jimmy says, well, I asked Bill Clinton. He said he looked and he couldn't find anything. And then Obama says point blank, well, that's what we're instructed to say.
Right.
The aliens exercise extreme control over us, is, I believe, the exact quote of fucking Barack Obama. And everyone laughed, but yeah, all the fucking,
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about Obama's quote in context of his, like, persona.
Yeah,
charisma,
it was. I mean, yeah, you could easily look at that like, yeah, he was just being a personable, funny thing, but at the same time, you're like,
right. Any word a president says is important. Like, you can't overanalyze it enough. I mean,
right.
Just so I totally.
Even Jimmy said that. He's like, are you people are gonna be analyzing your facial expressions and your tone of voice, and then so Hillary Clinton comes on. She was the final one. Jimmy asked the same question, same exact fucking question. And she goes, well, technically, and it's like, would you find, your husband said he looked and he didn't find anything. And then Hillary goes, oh, well, I'm going to look again and we're going to find something.
That was when she was campaigning. Right? So
she was supposed to be president, right?
That was part of the campaign, though.
Part of the campaign. But then what she said, this is the public thing she said, she goes, technically, Jimmy, they're not called UFOs
That was
anymore.
the first time I heard.
They're called UAPs. That's a clear disclosure, tactic, strategy, campaign, whatever the fuck. And so they were, this is from videos I've watched, and also my personal belief is that Hillary Clinton, if she was going to be president, it was going to be one of those things. Like when she became president, there was going to be like a public disclosure, and they were going to, sure, it wouldn't be like the disclosure Corey Good and all those guys wanted.
That anybody wanted that's interested in it, really.
Right. But then, of course, that plan went to shit, didn't work out so well. She did not win.
Yeah.
And so Trump comes in, and we talked about this before, him being part of the fucking plan anyway, but it also affected their strategy and their tactics of how they were going to disclose that, because he's a loose cannon. He's not as fucking savvy and slick as Hillary is. Like, he's not a politician. Not a politician. She's a Terminator. She's got the program.
Yeah.
So that all went to shit. And then what we did get, though, was the Space Force and this whole COVID disclosure event with the Pentagon. That was put in place by Trump, actually.
Right. Which is another just curveball.
It goes back to this idea they're all part of the same club, and there's still that main star, and in the ocean they're sailing towards that star. They're still going in that direction. Yeah, sure, Trump comes in, the storm, right? The wind's blowing, but they're still going in that direction.
Yeah.
So they still got the Space Force, and he's like, yeah, we're still moving towards disclosure, but like all of those deep state guys were like, all right, well, we have to put this disclosure shit on the shelf for a while, because we're not going to give the fucking, tide turning event to Trump to talk about.
Right.
He's an asshole.
True. And also is like, I mean, honestly, it would have been had its pluses and minuses, because of course he's not credible.
Right.
He's uncredible. He's incredibly uncredible. And so if he said something like that, even if it was true, 52% of the United States would immediately be like, that's bullshit.
Exactly.
Which is an advantage for the people who are guiding the ship, in the background, because they don't want to freak out. They don't want.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you'd get the 47% of people in the United States would go nuts for that, right?
Yeah.
Because the Trump cultists. So yeah, but also maybe it was just like, screw him. We don't want to give him that, because it is kind of like a a trophy, or
It's
like,
absolutely
another
like a
notch in your
trophy.
belt, you know?
Yes, totally.
And it kind of gives you your approval ratings would go up no matter what. Like your legacy would go up. Like it would.
Donald Trump, the man who disclosed the truth about aliens.
Disclosure
like,
president. You
they're
know,
like,
and it'd
no,
be
we're not giving that to him.
Hillary would be able to hide all of her scandal under the rug with that one.
Instantly, exactly.
That one thing
that probably had something to do with the the two birds in one stone scenario. You know, they're always again back to like, why now?
So you're saying why now? Because it's been in motion for
it's been in motion for a while, I believe, and also I think,
and it's not Biden doing it either. Like,
no.
So this is like a very even more sly way as well, making it like official, but like second page or bottom of the fold, under the fold kind of story, instead of like, because if Joe Biden, I'm sure he's been asked about it, but I haven't seen him even acknowledging that this is happening. So he's like completely distanced from it. I haven't seen Kamala.
No, he's
say
like a
anything
status quo guy. Like even though Hillary represented the status quo, I think this disclosure thing was supposed to be like their springboard into get the big event to the event.
Right.
Whereas now Joe Biden, like especially post Trump, it's Joe Biden is just like, let's just go back to
that he has his thing, he has his mission, he has enough to do, right? Like just undoing all that other stuff and then all the racial stuff and all the making up for his last 40 years of being in government and doing shitty shit. Like, oh, sorry about that, but we're gonna fix it though.
Here's the deal.
Yeah, and so he has enough to do where he doesn't need. I feel like Hillary would have needed that, right? Because she's already coming in with so much baggage. Like Joe, Joe obviously had a lot of baggage too,
but not like her.
Not like her. So that would have been the trump card for her to just be like, to ignore all of her other, because she would have had plenty of scandal even before getting into office. So, So do you think like the next president, whoever it's going to be, because there's no guarantee that it's not going to be Trump. There's no guarantee that it's not going to be Joe Biden. Just like it's still up in the air. Like I don't even care if Biden has a 70% approval rating like on election day. Like there's still no guarantee of what's going to happen. It's still a fucking wild card.
Absolutely.
So do you think they're kind of waiting for the right candidate again to come in to kind of make it more official, or do you think they're going to continue this kind of like under the rug on the side kind of disclosure?
I think for one thing, they were gearing up, like you were saying before, getting ahead of the information to a certain point, like
trying to like Hillary and John Podesta and that whole thing. It was, I feel like that was they were ahead of it, and they were like on schedule to have this event where it wouldn't cause too many ripple effects. It would be this like great, oh wow, cool, like but I really hope it still will be.
Yeah, but I think now after all that shit went down, like these guys, it's like they were playing cards and they were bluffing, and Trump came in with his trump card and just fucking like took over the game. And now these guys are basically just scrambling, trying to like get their shit together. Like all of the the house of cards that they built was just so fragile and specific that once Trump came in, it's like now they kind of have to, all their plans go by the wayside. Like we were talking about before with the DNA thing. Like all of our efforts are going into figuring out the truth about our existence, and then they figure it out, and it's like, oh shit, we were wrong. Yeah,
and we put all of our eggs in that basket.
So they got so there's still, I think partly like these videos that leaked, I'm not so sure that, I think it's really what it says it is they were leaked. These videos, you could look at it, oh yeah, well why now? Why they could have been leaked on purpose.
Well, right, and just knowing like what they are, they're still not okay, maybe in the perspective of, they're just not that profound of videos.
No, right? And
they're the ones that the government would want leaked.
Well, yeah, but they also have super high resolution video of those things. Like those videos that are leaked, are infrared.
Yeah.
But you got to think, like the cameras that are filming that stuff, they have multiple functions to them. I guess it's just it's a speculation, but I'm going to speculate that they have the infrared videos are the ones that leak, but they have the high resolution videos of that, but they're not those are not the ones that were leaked.
Right. Well,
So-
right, that's what I'm saying is like they weren't profound mind blowing.
Right,
videos.
exactly. But what it's doing is it's forcing their hand now, as opposed to like the Hillary Clinton thing where they had control over the narrative. Now these videos of infrared, Tic Tac UFO things are leaking, and everyone's coming out and be like, hey, what is this? You have until June 25th
Yeah.
to figure this shit out, and they're coming out and saying, well, we don't know what it is, and it's like
we'll look into it.
We'll look into
we're going to start looking into it right now.
yeah, you know what? Fuck you. These people they're supposed to present an air of intelligence and like we know what's going on. For them to come out and say they don't know what's going on, it's clearly a psyop.
Right, because they have invested so much in intelligence and defense that they wouldn't come out and say we don't know. If you don't know what it is, it's a threat. So they wouldn't
Right.
just come out and say, "Oh, there's a thing out there that we don't know about. We just started looking into it." It's like they would never ever announce that they don't know
Right.
about this thing.
Unless they're
happening.
trying to stoke fear.
Unless they already know. I mean, they have to already know, and they're trying to. Of course, they're always trying to create fear out of everything. But yeah, they would never ever say there are things in our airspace that are beyond us, and we don't know what they are. They might be a foreign power. They would never admit that.
They couldn't. I mean, again, the only reason why they can do that rationally from their point of view is they're trying to stoke fear.
Yeah.
It comes back to the Stephen Greer idea of a staged alien invasion. Like this, I think that's what things are lining up for. Like instead of having a disclosure event, they're going to have a fucking like alien attack thing.
But what? Yeah, that just at this point is such a hard sell. It's like I feel like they can't come out. They're doing it in the wrong order. Like they can't come out and say they're because they've been to the layman person, if they do exist, they've been benevolent. There have been no incidences. I mean, yes, of course there are the abduction stories and stuff like that, but they haven't shot down any buildings. They haven't, blown up any towns.
If anything, they've deactivated
The most
nuclear
aggressive
sites,
things they've done is deactivating nuclear sites. I mean, there are plenty of
which is like
accounts.
de-escalation.
Right, exactly. So if you're going to come forward and say we don't know who they are or what they're doing, you're admitting essentially that by saying that publicly that they're not a threat. So if then you turn around later and be like, oh my God, by the way, these things that all of a sudden we've just acknowledged have all of a sudden just turned on a dime and are being aggressive towards us and they're trying to kill us. It's like, why, like, I feel like that's a hard sell for a lot of people. Like, why would they?
Oh, yeah.
So we just heard about them and they've been here for thousands of years or 50 years or whatever the story's going to be. And now that we're aware of them, that's when they start turning on the anger, bad alien stuff. It's like, that's just.
Yeah. But play devil's advocate though.
Highly illogical.
Highly illogical, Mr. Spock.
Pardon me.
But let's look at the movies as more than just movies, as propaganda films.
Mm-hmm.
War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. Those things were buried under ground for God knows how long. And then one day, a fucking lightning storm shows up, activates these things, and then they just come up and start destroying everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we talked about this the last podcast we did, but just like a scenario where on June 25th or whatever, they come out and they're like, all right, it's not just like a summary report, New York Times kind of thing. Like, hey, okay, it's coming. Yeah, we don't know. But they come out and they say like, all right, yeah, we know what they are. We've been studying them for 70 years. And we didn't want to tell anybody because we didn't want to freak you out. But they're on their way. They're going to be here.
That's why now, right?
This Christmas.
That's why now, because
this Christmas
coming to a
they're
town
coming.
near you,
They're coming. And another reason why now.
we've been tracking them for.
Yeah, just like Deep Impact. In Deep Impact with Morgan Freeman, there's an asteroid coming. Why didn't you guys fucking say anything? Well, we didn't want to say anything until we knew we could have a plan.
Sure.
So like if their plan, and also why now? Well, right now globally, people are used to the idea of lockdowns.
True.
And things are in such a fluxing state between a world that we came from into a world that is emerging.
And a lot of other bullshit that has been bullshit for a long time is kind of coming to a light, like all this workers, people struggling to find workers because all of a sudden workers are like, wait a minute, you've been underpaying us for forever. You've been raising the prices of, I liked a tweet that I saw. It was like, well, they raised the price of outside when we were all inside and they thought we wouldn't notice. And that's kind of what's been happening. Yeah. But now we've had this retrospective time where we've been like, wait, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That, like, we've thought that for a while, but now there's a collective amount of people who are like, collectively, like, this is all fucked up. That whole thing is fucked up. We're not going to do that anymore. Yeah. So that would be, there would be advantages to disclosing information at this point because it would also
it just gets flow into
attention,
the mix.
Yeah, take the attention. It would flow into the mix, but it would also take a little stress off the bullshit corporations and the industries.
Yes.
And like, oh, don't look at how they've been treating their employees shittily for the whole time. And don't look how banks are scamming everybody. Don't look at all this bad stuff that has come to light in the last year. Look at aliens.
Yeah, they're the real threat.
Right, yeah.
And it's if you look at the New World Order agenda, the whole idea is bringing people together with no more borders, and we're all one. And that's the double-edged sword of the New World Order because it comes from this Enlightenment philosophy that sees the world as, I know we both do, is that we're all one. This is a big living organism and that we're all connected, like we're talking about the quantum physics thing. But it's also an agenda to maintain the structure of control.
Right.
It's like controlling the narrative. Like, yes, we're all one, but that translates in their mind as one world government.
Yes, it's different to them than it is to us.
It's essentially the same exact structure, but bringing it into the new understanding of the world. It's one of those things where we show you the truth, but we tell you lies.
Right.
Or we tell you the truth, but we show you lies.
Both, yeah.
Depending on the situation. So I everyone getting locked down into their house, everyone's accustomed to it, everyone watching TV, and like everyone in certain cities, you'd be able to look outside your fucking window and see a big battle in the sky or some shit. Like, that's what the Space Force, we didn't want to, why did Trump make the Space Force? Oh, well, Trump made the Space Force because the fucking aliens are coming and he was trying to save us all.
Right.
They all were trying to save us.
Yeah, now
it's like, let's put aside our petty differences and focus on the real enemy out there.
You know who could save us is Amazon and SpaceX. We should give them a bunch of money. So you're going to get all that kind of bullshit of like space weapons, and all of a sudden you're going to need $1 billion contracts for Halliburton in space and Halliburton on the moon and that kind of. I mean, it's just another con, right? Just another con to make more money. Same shit as always. Yeah, and then they'd be able to start disclosing technology that's existed for a while, and then so that they could use it out against us. So they could use it to control everything and be like, oh, by the way, here it is, this new great technology. We're going to use it to corral you guys. And like shit, like we're going to go to Mars. We're going to launch a thing. It'll take us 6 months to get there. During this, by the way, we've been investigating alien craft. We don't know what they are, but we have some of their technology, so we're going to start implementing that stuff. So meanwhile, it's always been in there. Yeah, so it would have taken us 3 years to get to Mars, but since we have this new technology that we somehow have already implemented, you just go to El Segundo, you walk through the elevator, and you're on Mars. 999 Sepulveda, right? Yeah, is that what it was? Yeah, Sepulveda, yeah. Or 666, was it? Yeah, 999. 999. Right around the corner from my old work, yeah. So, I mean, I guess all of these things are possibilities. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're answering our own question of why now. Because they are kind of, this always has been their last play, right? Or at least from our perspective. So, and things are getting close to being out of control in a lot of places in the world. Like there's just everybody's on edge and everybody's so close because of the lockdowns and because of the revelations and because of the Trump and the QAnon, and everybody's just kind of on a different level than they were a year ago, no matter what side or spectrum you're on. So I feel like maybe they're feeling the pressure of either it's about to be overthrow the old cabal time, or we're going to play our last card and hopefully it'll work and we'll turn the world into the one one world.
And likely they're going to try, but they're going to fail.
Yeah.
They're going to fail.
I think they've already failed. I think they're already past the point.
Oh, yeah.
It just needs to play out.
It needs to play out. It's that classic fucking Fantasia Sorcerer's Apprentice scenario where we're watching the last moments of that cartoon where Mickey Mouse, America, the Cabal, the ones with the pyramid hat and the sacred knowledge of the book of the, misusing knowledge without wisdom to understand how to use it and how to integrate it. So it's like we're watching Mickey Mouse just scrambling, trying to stop what he started, but he can't. No. And it's just all of these brooms that he's animated to just do one simple task and bring water from the well up to the whatever. And it's just Mickey Mouse frantically trying to stop it, but he can't. And then the whole thing comes down to the sorcerer coming back. Now, the sorcerer coming back, that could be humanity when humanity emerges. Now, if they're going to see, this might be speculating. This might be what does them in at the end. This is an example of how they have this knowledge. It's in their card, their last effort to control the world by revealing their biggest secret that they've had this whole time. But one of the side effects of that, or direct effects of that, if people are aware of extraterrestrials and the fact that they exist, they've been here, then what's to stop the actual extraterrestrials from interacting with human beings? Like in Star Trek, there's the Prime Directive. You don't interact with a species unless they're ready to be interacted with, basically.
I feel like that would be a pretty clear sign that that would almost be like one of those clauses in a contract, in the Prime Directive contract, is like if they get to a point where they're advanced enough to portray or manipulate extraterrestrials, like if holograms or whatever the technology will be, I feel like that is like a sign of like, all right, they're at the point where, and that's also like, on a human level, it's like you're fucking with my image here, like the aliens would be like, they have a right at that point because they're being slandered.
Yeah.
They're being like, hey, okay, so now you're at the point where you think you can like, misuse our image, and then that gives them, in my mind, gives them permission to be like, just come in and shut down all the holograms and be like, all right, dude.
Exactly.
It's over now.
And that's the sorcerer coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also there's another example of this is in Inception. When I think they're like a couple of dream levels deep into the main plot of the movie where they have to go and they have to get, what's his name? Aiden, the Scarecrow from...
Cillian Murphy?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy, they have to plant that idea in his head, but their plan gets all fucked up, right? Because he has subconscious security now, right? They get down to an area and his people are attacking him, and then Leonardo DiCaprio's like, all right, we have to improvise. And they're like, wait, we can't improvise. You have to stick to the plan. They're like, all right, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tell him that he's dreaming. And they're like, you can't fucking tell him he's dreaming. That blows a cover on our whole thing. They're like, no, we're going to tell him he's dreaming, but that we're here, part of his subconscious security. So in that relation to this, it's like they're going to reveal the truth.
Yeah.
In an attempt to continue controlling the narrative. But I don't think they're as slick as Leonardo DiCaprio is.
No, I don't think they are. Or Christopher Nolan.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think they've always had that ego issue. Like they've always been too confident, overconfident in everything. And of course, at the highest levels, it's gonna continue that because this is like, there's so much momentum behind this system, this cabal or whatever, that I don't even know how much room they have to improvise, even if they wanted to. So their version of improvisation will be like, let's try this real quick, and it'll just go down in flames. It'll just it'll look ridiculous, I think. Yeah,
because the thing is, positive. Okay, so the whole idea of good aliens and bad aliens, not going to say that doesn't exist, because first of all, we don't know.
No,
we can acknowledge that they exist. We can at least take that leap of faith. But the idea of good aliens and bad aliens, like there's evil reptilians and then the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white aliens, and then the good guys, Nordic aliens.
Yeah. They look like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sexy evil Cersei. I have a picture of sex. It's like I got it on DeviantArt.
Well, yeah, it looks like a painting almost.
It is a painting.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Sexy evil Cersei.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pictures.
Whatever. She's not really a blonde.
No, she's definitely not. She's dark haired. Look at those eyebrows.
Yeah. Ain't fooling nobody, girl.
Yeah, so
But yeah, the idea
of good aliens and bad aliens. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna go out and claim that like Stephen Greer does and say there are no bad aliens. But I
think there are aliens with different agendas.
Yeah, aliens with different agendas. I think
whether or not positive or negative.
Yeah, more amoral than anything.
Yeah.
But I'm
not
more
to them, right?
I'm more of a proponent of the idea that the real extraterrestrials, they're by and large, mostly, if anything, amoral but benevolent. There's a benevolence. Right. It's like if you're going to be evolved millions of years into the future,
you have to.
You can't still be playing these games of manipulation. Sure, there's going to be species that are potentially going to do that, but like David Wilcock always says, there are certain rules they got to play by, like in the law of one or whatever. You know, they can't do all this bad shit to you unless we authorize it. So I think that,
and kind of on the opposite side too, it's like you have to, if you want help, you got to authorize help.
You got to, exactly. You have to ask for it, and if that's going to be a scenario where they reveal the truth that there's aliens and people are ready for it, which it seems like they are, that could be the thing that
I just had a cool idea. I'm sure it's been done before, like cinematically, but like, what if all of a sudden, because we've heard like the main form of communication for a lot of people with extraterrestrial or extra dimensional entities is through your dreams or telepathically. It would be interesting to study people's dreams in the next coming time. Like if people, a certain message or a theme starts coming through, or people start reporting like, hey, is anybody else like reoccurring dreams just start happening in like a percentage of the population to kind of, segue into the extraterrestrials, because of course they're conscious of what we're doing. Like if we're disclosing information, they're probably keeping up with that just to see where we are in our stage of evolution. So it'll be really interesting, because of course it'd be super jarring. Like even seeing a craft in the sky is jarring. Like those are all still pretty jarring. Of course we're desensitized a lot more, and a lot of videos, and we've seen all the movies and stuff like that, and I don't know, a lot of people might not be as alarmed if they saw a craft in the sky, if it was far enough away. But
subconsciously,
yeah.
That I remember at the house one time, we got kind of stoned and went outside. I think Thrice was playing or something probably, and we went outside.
They're about to go on tour again, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, do they have a new album?
I think they've shown pictures of them in the studio.
Oh, sick!
So
I fucking love Thrice.
So of course, we're high at the house listening to Thrice.
Yeah, so we go up, but we go outside and just kind of. We had this conversation where it dawned upon us that of course we believe in aliens. We wouldn't be surprised if aliens showed up, but then what if we were just standing right here and we just looked over to the right and there was a fucking silver saucer craft just floating right there? As much as we believe in aliens, it's like if we were to see something like that, wouldn't be surprised if we just like threw up instantly. Just like, oh God, like because that's an otherworldly thing that you really just can't prepare yourself for. So
there's no real, we can't really equate that to any other thing in our life. It is because it's alien. It's so abstract that you're right that it would be like. The process, like, is it real? Is it real? And then you think it's real, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, this is throwing my whole reality. Like you get like reality vertigo, and you're like, oh.
Because we've seen ourselves for a very long time as the apex predators on Earth, right? There's nothing that could fucking threaten us because we're the ones.
That's true.
But if there was, if there were aliens,
there was something above us.
What would that mean
food
for
chain,
us?
Yeah,
that was like, oh shit. Well, then suddenly.
That would still be pretty jarring for most people.
Absolutely.
I feel like at this point, even though, some people, I'd like to say that, I'd be able to witness something and be, more or less be able to comprehend or, take it in and function.
Yeah.
But that's why I think, maybe like dreams will be like the softer way of, it's the soft disclosure of, like just putting it in people's minds and getting you used to some visuals and feelings too. In dreams you could feel all sorts of stuff that you don't feel when you're awake and walking around. So I'm sure that's been happening for a long time anyways, as like a natural part of the process. But just thinking in the next, because Bashar, who's a channeler, and people have their opinions either way of, whether or not he's actually channeling somebody. He channels this guy. Bashar is the actual entity that he channels, but he's very charismatic and has a big personality. But regardless of the act or the show, his information usually resonates with me, and he's made predictions. Of course, anytime anybody gets an opportunity to ask alien questions, a lot of it is like, what's going to happen, and his predictions have, of course, not exactly like time-wise come true, but eventually have come through, because timelines are obviously always, there's so many things that can make something, like I thought I was going to get here in 35 minutes. There was a car accident and made it 45, 50 minutes. Like there's always something that can throw off a timeline a little bit. There's just a million different aspects to things. And he's always been, for whatever reason, I've always resonated with what he said. And I remember his predictions a while ago, talking about the next, I think they were referring to it as like a terrorist act, but the next big bad thing like 9/11. They made this prediction in like 2010 or 2009 when I was like deep into him. I actually went and saw him when I was living up in Berkeley. I drove down to LA. Yeah. And went and saw him, and they said in like 2019-ish there will be something. They think it's going to be nuclear, but they were foreseeing some mass tragedy. COVID happened. And there have been other things that they've kind of like subtly suggested, but the timeline hasn't always been exact just because of so much.
Yeah, but that's pretty damn close.
Stuff. Yeah, but he's always talked about first contact being around 2030. The first physical, like he refers to a specific civilization that it's their job to be the first ones that come in. And with stuff that's happening right now, 10 years doesn't seem that far away. No. But, of course, that could be 2035, depending on what happens, or it could be sooner, but I don't think it will be sooner. But that number has always stuck with me, like around, I've talked with you about that, I believe. But 2030 at this point seems like if we continue and we have this type of disclosure this year, this month, it's crazy that it's actually happening.
Yeah.
But we could say that it's this month as
well.
Yeah,
no shit.
But if that continues, and then the questions and then the interest that'll happen from the public, and who knows what's going to happen socially and politically in the next 10 years, it could go a million different directions. But 2030 seems to be kind of at a point where we would be desensitized enough that we'd be able to be like, have control of our emotions and not want to puke or not want to whatever.
Yeah.
If we actually saw like a legit sighting, of course there would probably be a whole system of like, they wouldn't just come down and come out right away. Like, of course they would want to be like, we're out there, like the day the earth stood still, like the ship flies around the globe a couple of times and basically hails the US or the people and be like, hey, can we come land? Like we're aliens. Can we come land? We're showing you that we're here. You can track us. Yeah. So there's that part of the process, and then they have to get permission, and then they have to make a whole thing. It's not like Independence Day where they just No. I think there's going to be a whole protocol system to it, but I think at that point, they wouldn't come before we were ready, because it would be illogical. Yeah. It wouldn't make any fucking sense, right? Because the plan's been in progress for thousands of years, so it's like, why jump the gun?
What does that say about an advanced civilization that's just going to come in and just fucking freak everybody?
Yeah, out? Right. It just makes no sense. No. So they're going to come, not a moment too soon. If anything, they're going to wait. Like, all right, they're good today, but let's wait till tomorrow. Just to be safe, just to make sure everyone's got on the same vibe. So I again, 2030, I think, with this progression, depending on what happens this month, I think around 2030 seems to be at a point where people will be ready for that.
Oh yeah, I
mean, they'll be asking for it too at that point.
And if this whole decade is defined by these very poignant and little at the time disclosures, just this in itself, the Pentagon having to talk about actual unidentified flying objects, and even if they say, which they very well could, we don't know what it is, we'll get back to you, is a big first step at all. Like 10 years ago, that they wouldn't, like, why would we have a hearing about this? Because that's ridiculous. So that's just considering if this next decade from now until 2030 is just going to be a whole series of things like that. By the time that a disclosure happens, or by the time an actual first contact happens, then people won't ready. Will be ready. But then it goes back to this. It's like first contact, really? First contact? They're going to make there's going to be a first contact. What kind of positive? It's like the positive extraterrestrials. They could see right through all this. It's like first contact, you asshole. You shot us down back in the 1940s, and you're gonna act like you don't know what we are. Mm-hmm.
But they know that represents less than 1%.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah. Like, are they gonna?
So they're just ignore? Are you saying they're just gonna ignore the people who are pretending, like the government people? Like,
oh well, it's like like we were saying before, like Inception, like the government, this one small percentage of people, they're gonna go out of their way to reveal some shit, trying to control everything, but they can't control the people, like the broomsticks, and the sorcerers. They can't control that. So when it comes down to the actual disclosure, it's very unlikely in my mind that it's going to happen like on the front lawn of the White House. Mm-hmm. It's going to be something else, like even when the Phoenix Lights happened or something. Something that just they bypass. Like if they're going to come down, they're going to bypass the mainstream.
Yeah, because they don't want it. Yeah, I mean they're alien. They're in control, so they're going to do it the way that they best see fit, and the way that it makes the most sense for their audience, right? They're not just going to put on a generic show like the same show that they would in LA in Ohio. Like you have to cater to the audience. So right. I'm sure they're going to figure. You're right though. I think they're going to bypass the government, because you can't rely on the government to try to do something or make it about them and or whatever. Yeah,
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
we can't leave this all up to Mickey Mouse. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Right. Yeah, it's like you have to have a reliable host, and if you can't have a reliable host, then you're not going to have the party at their house. Yeah. So if you can't have it at their house, you're gonna make your own venue. You're gonna go out in the middle of a field, or they're gonna pick I'm just like picturing like a new Woodstock would be a perfect place for them to come down and be like, hey everybody, and everybody they're like, what's up? Instead of on the front lawn of a bunch of people in suits and ties being like, here we are, here comes Mr. Zobgob, and he's gonna come down. It's like, no, fuck that, right?
Zobgob and Zobgob. It's like Zobgob. Mr. President, Zobgob's not here.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
He's actually in upstate New York right now.
What? Just like at a small gathering of like hippies at a camp.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't remember if Bashar ever clarified how the actual particulars of the first contact, but he didn't. I don't think he said that there will be a formal thing, or if it'll just happen in a big city, or if it'll happen in rural Indiana. Like. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and then that goes back to this idea, like if they're gonna do a staged alien invasion, some sort of staged event using technology, and like these things are flying around. They're like, we don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. I think they know exactly what the fuck it is. Right. I think they fucking built it. Honestly, I think it's reverse engineered shit from the past. Like, but also again, we got to remember all these departments are compartmentalized. Right. Like all the people that are saying we don't know what it is,
most of them don't know what it is.
They literally don't, and they think they're at the top of the food chain. Like, we don't know what that is. But but you're not the head of the food chain. Yeah. There's other people that know more about this than you do.
Yeah, that's the confusing part to the public too. Is like, we know we've been lied to about it, but there are a lot of organizations that genuinely have been just, moved out of the equation. Yeah, like it's been privatized, or it's been moved in under this one general, like in what's that Spielberg series? With
Arrival?
No, with Dakota Fanning.
Series.
Like when she's real little, and it's like 6 or 7 episodes.
Dakota Fanning.
Right?
Well, she was in War of the Worlds.
Yeah, but when she was like a spawn of an alien who got taken up into a ship.
It's not Arrival. It's Taken.
Taken. Right?
Yeah, it was a series. It was
yeah.
With, I think, Martin Sheen was in it. Or Martin Sheen.
Yeah. But my point was that essentially like one government guy kind of got in control of something, or he got an artifact, and he just kind of, like, the rest of the government had no idea what this guy was doing. But he was all of a sudden the funnel for the UFO stuff, the alien stuff. So he was literally one dude who decided to do that, but because he was like a general or an admiral, he had like the power to just take control. And if anything in this realm comes through, make sure you get it to Bob and he'll get it to me, and then nobody else has any idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So there are, like you said, most people don't know what's going on, but it's not because nothing's going on.
No, it's because it's compartmentalized.
But they assume that if there was something, I would know. It's
right.
like, no.
No, exactly. And that's why you were hired. Because that's what you think.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to think.
Know. You're good at not knowing.
Yeah. And they feed the ego and they get paid enough.
Yeah,
and you know, it's like, we're going to give you special access to the UFO files. Here they are. And it's like everything's redacted.
Yeah,
but but at least you know that they exist.
Yeah,
Therefore.
And it's like nothing. It's basically like the intro to the book that would be UFO,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Right? Speaking of redacted shit, I watched, there's a video that just came out. There's this guy I watch on YouTube. His name is Jimmy, but he has a YouTube channel called Bright Insight. And he talks a lot about Atlantis and Göbekli Tepe and the Reshat structure, which I'm pretty sure I've told you about. The Eye of Sahara.
Yeah, did you send me a video about that?
I might have. I think I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So this, I love this guy. He's a really cool guy. But he talks about the Eye of the Sahara, which is this very strange, like, catch your eye. You could see it from space. They didn't know it existed. Well, some people didn't know it existed until they were using the space shuttle and orbiting the Earth. And I'm like, holy shit, look at that.
Yeah.
It looks like a giant eye in Mauritania, which is like Western Africa. But there's all this really interesting circumstantial evidence that says, like, you know what? This might actually be the city that Plato is talking about. It's not underwater. It's actually in the middle of the desert. And everyone's like, but Plato said, and they're like, technically Plato didn't say Atlantis was under the water. He said a flood washed over. And then at the end of that sentence, it's the whole place was impassable by mud.
Right.
Like grass was growing up. It used to be like land and lakes and stuff, but then when this huge amount of water washed over it, it just put all this dirt and sediment, so it just basically covered everything in mud. They said Atlantis was impassable due to mud. So anyway, the Reshat, it's called the Reshat structure, looks just like Atlantis. It's this geological anomaly. Like, they don't really know what it came from. They think it could be volcanoes. They think it could be a crater.
But it's so like
concentric circles.
Concentric,
it has the same levels of rings like Atlantis. Like Plato said, there were two belts of water with three land, one island in the middle, and then two other rings of land, and it was connected to the water. You could look at this thing. You can see there's actual programs online where you can simulate what that area or anywhere in the world would look like if sea level were to rise.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you do that and you get it to a certain point. It literally looks like Atlantis. Concentric circles, the same thing, connected to the water. It's right
with
in
like
the
rivers going out of it, just like Plato had said too.
There's so much evidence of that place. But the reason I brought it up, though, is because apparently there are now unclassified documents that talk about the Reshat structure. There was like CIA investigations into this thing, and the documents were released, and half of the fucking documents are redacted.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's like, And if you read the parts that's not redacted, they're like, yes, it's an interesting anomaly, and we're looking into it. And then the main part of it's all blocked out. Like, okay.
Well, just the fact that they spent time and money to look into it says enough, right? It's like there's something going on there. Whether or not it's Atlantis or not, this is something to give your attention to. But
I mean, it could be that there was a pole shift. I mean, the whole area of the Sahara, it's a big desert, it's just desert right now. But back 10,000, 13,000 years ago, it used to be a lush green rivers and valleys and look completely different.
Right. So taking that into context, it makes more sense what Pluto was saying. But I feel like also, like this guy went over like the translations of certain words that have been mistranslated, and so like all these misconceptions that have evolved over the years. Yeah, now everyone you assume when you think of Atlantis, of course, there's movies and stuff like that.
It's under the water.
Yeah, so you're always thinking about that.
And then that's also true because again, in the context of lower sea levels, everywhere on Earth, the coastlines would have been different. So. There is a lot of stuff under the water,
right?
But that doesn't mean that is the case. And then there's also a lot of theories and interesting evidence that the Earth had a pole shift where you see these maps. There's this famous map maker, historian guy, Perry Reese. It's called the Perry Reese map. And he shows the coast of Antarctica before there was ice on it. Like, you see land mass, and this is before Antarctica was even discovered. And it's mapped exactly the way that no one at the time would have ever been able to see, because the ice moves, the ice shows a different coastline than from what the land was. So the theory is that Perry Reese was translating and copying older maps that had been around for a lot longer. And so you have parts of Antarctica that were not covered up by ice. And then you have, think about like the ice caps on top of North America. The ice cap pretty much came all the way down to like the Midwest. If you can think about it, looking at it the way the Earth is positioned now, that ice cap was kind of sitting on the side like this. But if there was let's say the pole was a little bit different, and that ice cap was just sitting on top of the Earth, just like how Antarctica is sitting right on the bottom. If that were the case, the Earth would have moved. It would have been in a different position, and part of Antarctica would have been closer to the equator. Which means there might not have been ice there at that time. Which means that the Sahara Desert wouldn't have been in this arid part of the whole region. So if there was some sort of series of events that led the Earth to fucking shift, instantly putting that nice tropical region that was where the Sahara Desert is, and then part of Antarctica, now that's underneath, and that gets all frozen up and gets all covered. The sea levels rise up, cover up everything. So
a lot of context you need for all that.
Yeah.
But that is really interesting.
In Star Trek Next Generation, I don't know if you got to the part yet. Have you been watching it like straight through?
Yeah.
Did you get to, what season are you on?
2, the end of 2.
Okay. So season 3 is really good with the Borg. But
we just met the Borg a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
When Q came back. Fucking with him.
Fucking Q. Fucking people.
Look at Q. Oh.
Q.
Yeah. He was
Q.
And then
trustworthy individual.
Whoopi Goldberg came in to be like, yo, don't fuck with the Borg.
Yeah, the Borg fucking destroyed my home world.
Yeah.
But there's a whole thing where eventually, like I think at the end of season 3, where Picard has an opportunity to go back to Earth for like a vacation. Like, hey, you've dealt with a lot. Take some time off. He gets a job offer to go and be like the leader of the archaeology team that goes and uncovers Atlantis on Earth. So like at the same time of Next Generation, they're exploring space.
What are they? Where are they? The
24th century.
24, yeah.
24th century. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like so when it comes to aliens, when it comes to lost civilizations, these are things that are going to be taking the forefront.
They're all, and I think they're going to be together, right? Like
Absolutely.
Those kind of things are all kind of linked, because when the aliens do come, there's going to be a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine the first couple of years of them interacting with us is going to be people, whoever, Uncle Bruce, are the people that we vote in to be like, can you be our ambassador and go ask them all the questions we want to know?
And then, dude, another X factor here is the Vatican. And what they have. So when it comes down to the event,
religions are going to have to fucking shuffle.
Oh yeah, and the Vatican, they've got so much information on all this stuff that they've been accumulating for hundreds, thousands of years. I really haven't
thought about them, how they're going to react to this, because this kind of just fucking fucks all their shit up.
But Pope Francis, the dope pope, the dopest of the popes, Jonathan Price, one of my favorite actors, played. Did you see that movie?
Yeah,
Two Popes?
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that movie. But it was if there was ever a pope that would be willing to come out and say what's up, it's going to be him.
Agreed. And I think that's partially why it worked out that way, cosmically. Because they couldn't have had the other guy be in there now. I mean, is he alive? I don't even know if he's alive.
Ratzinger.
Ratzinger, yeah.
That guy
they need that's also going to be the thing for the governments, is like they're going to need the right people in the right place at the right time, right? For this stuff to kind of happen correctly. So I wonder if that's in the extraterrestrial plan. It's like because you can't have a bunch of people and heads of state that would just are uncooperative or something like that. You need the right people in the right places, and I think the current pope is the right person in that place,
yeah.
because that's not going to be an easy place to be.
No.
Because that just turns everything like.
I mean,
there's going to be how many Catholics are there in the world? 1 billion, like more than that. Less. There are going to be a lot of them being like looking to. Hey, can you tell us what this is about? How does this work in with everything?
Yeah, they're losing customers. Like that was a whole
every
thing
religion
in that
is
movie.
now. Every religion is.
Except Islam. Islam's like
Really?
Oh yeah, there's so many. There was a religion that won. It was Islam.
I mean, they've been the biggest religion forever.
For a long time,
Yeah.
hundreds of since it came about. But the Vatican, thinking if I were the Pope, thinking about it in terms of my customer base.
Well, didn't he say if aliens come, I'll baptize them? Wasn't that one of his quotes?
Yeah, and he was like, "There's no reason to think aliens don't exist because they're part of God's kingdom."
Yeah, right. I guess that's the cop out, right? It's like, this is all part of God's plan. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, okay. But it's like, but
And
no one was willing to say that, though.
Yeah, right.
So for him to say that, it's like, well, if the Pope, so many people like worship, the Pope and everything. They're like, well, I mean, if the Pope said it, then I guess I'll have to agree with that because that's what I believe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess literally what the Pope says is gospel, except he's been divisive because he's not he's less traditional.
Oh yeah, I mean, he brings up the idea that celibacy shouldn't be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
He brings up the thing. It's like, well, homosexuality isn't evil,
But didn't they just go back on that a little bit? I think they backpedaled on homosexuality, but
probably.
But still, like
it's like American politics. Like the president come out and say something, but it's like, yeah, you could say that, but you think you're in charge of this whole operation, bro? All these other popes. So yeah, I guess the summary of this whole thing is we'll see what happens.
you be ready for anything. No expectations, because then we'll be disappointed. Right at this point, hopefully we've learned enough to not believe there's going to be a big to do ever. It's always going to be way more boring and way more bland
and just to take anything that the government sanctioned view with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
they're liars. So
they're liars, and they only care about themselves. And even to retract that a little bit, it's like give them the benefit of the doubt. They believe they're doing the right thing. And there's that whole idea of like, well, we can't tell people the truth because they'll freak out. And if you want to look at Atlantis as any sort of sign of how not to do things, like Atlantis was a situation where, like these people, like the Illuminati or the deep state and the cabal or whatever the fuck, they're the ones that know about the truth, and people that would think, oh, they just want to kill everybody, an evil agenda, and control the world. It's like, look at it more like they have the story, the unabridged story of what happens when we use our technology out of harmony with the wisdom of nature. So like they have this like mission directive for thousands of years. Like, okay, well, we're gonna keep this secret to protect everyone so that this shit doesn't happen again. But then in that situation, they become the thing that they're trying to avoid.
Yeah. So it's very, very naive and ignorant, and they do believe that they're greater than they actually are. So
yeah, Mickey Mouse, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah,
that was the 1980s. Ronald Reagan was that part where fucking Mickey Mouse was asleep, and in the cartoon he gets all the brooms to do his work, and what's his job? He's a custodian. That's it. He's a custodian who uses the magic book to animate the brooms to do his work. It's like magic that could be used to create really amazing, beautiful outcomes in life is being used to clean up a mess that they are supposed to be cleaning themselves.
That they made themselves. Yeah.
So so there's that part in the cartoon where Mickey Mouse like gets he starts animating, he's like, oh, and he falls asleep, and then Mickey Mouse astral projects out of his body and has this whole dream of being the master of the universe, the sorcerer. I'm the sorcerer. But then like it gets out of control, and then Mickey Mouse wakes up. That's what we're perpetually experiencing right now.
Yeah. Yep. It's just a question of who is the big wizard going to be? Is it going to be us? Is it going to be them? Is it going to be them? Is it going to be him? Who's it going to be? Like it could be a lot of different. In what form will the wizard reveal himself?
Yeah. And then by the nature of quantum physics, when you observe something, if whatever thought you have while you're observing it, if you like in quantum physics experiments, they wanted to determine whether something was a particle or was a wave. And they set up the experiment to see if it was a particle, and sure enough, it was a particle. But then they did the same exact experiment with the same thing, except they changed it. Well, let's see if it's a wave. They make it, and by going into it with the intention, let's see if this is a wave, it becomes a wave.
Have you seen any of those videos where there's like an audio clip plays, and there's two different phrases on the screen? It's like a TikTok video, and it's like whichever phrase you're looking at, that's the audio you hear. So you look, you hear it, and you think it says this is a turtle, and it says this is a turtle, and then you look at it again, or you listen to it again, and it says I'm from Mars, and it says I'm from Mars.
Right.
But it's the same audio clip.
That's it. That's exactly it. So whatever is going to happen, our consciousness about it is going to have a major role to play in how the things actually unfold.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea.
So best thing to do is to not be afraid. Be afraid. That's easier said than done, but But yeah,
go into it like a movie where you haven't seen the preview for.
Exactly. Cold. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna watch this movie. What's it about? I can't tell.
I don't know.
I don't know what it's about. It's literally being made as you're watching.
Yeah, right. and that'll be, as with anything, it's like, not to get political, but it's like something like June 6th insurrection. Like some people interpreted it completely opposite to what other people interpreted it as. People that we would associate with see it as a bad thing, but some people like it, just like it's looking at one thing but seeing it in a different way. It's like the blind man with the elephant. It's like that's what disclosure is going to be. That's what all the alien stuff's going to be, is like seeing it in your own way, whatever your intention is. If it's a particle, if it's a wave, if malevolent or benevolent, or good or bad thing. It's
gonna be both. It's gonna be both. It's like, people still operating from that delusion of separation perspective, that we're at a crossroads. It's like Spoonception.
Yeah,
we're at a crossroads. You're either gonna go right or you're gonna go left, and it's only one or the other. But then what was the result of that? It's like, actually you go both ways. So that it's gonna be like that. I think it'll be, depending on how you look at it, you'll see it. Whatever you want to see, you're gonna fucking see it now. Right. Like, it's gonna be apocalyptic in every sense of the word. The revealing and dissolving of the veil that has been in front of her eyes. And if you want to look and see destruction and chaos and fear and all that horrible shit, you're gonna see it. The whole rest of our lives is gonna be witnessing the end of the world. Yeah. But then also, if you want to see the positive sides of things, you can absolutely see those too. And I think what it'll take is just a critical mass of people. It's all about the critical mass of people having a coherent thought about it. Yeah. And it's again another movie reference is Ghostbusters. At the very end of Ghostbusters, which you just watched, right?
Multiple times.
I fucking love that movie. But they're like, they open up the gate at the top of the supernatural building in New York City, and the fucking choose your destroyer. And they're like, don't think of anything. Whatever you do, don't think of anything. And fucking Dan Aykroyd thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So it's like whatever we think is going to fucking manifest into this. And the powers that have been, their mentality has always been looking at human beings as a violent, useless, needs to be controlled. We need to control it, otherwise it'll destroy itself. Like the way the Joker sees the world. Like, these people will eat each other alive. It's like they see it that way, so they operate from this perspective that, when shit hits the fan, everyone they need to program us, otherwise it'll be like World War Z.
Yeah.
But that, I think it's a complete opposite of that. It's like if you just left it alone, it would actually manifest into a much more positive vision.
Yeah, but you got to make that step of letting it go, and it's too scary to let go of control if you've had control for a long time. And it's scary on the other side is that if you've been controlled the whole time, or if you've had that structure and then all of a sudden there isn't that structure, it's
and you don't want to become the thing that you're fighting against. It's like that's why revolutions are happen all the time, but are not
nothing changes.
It's the whole, by definition, it's just things going in circles.
Mm-hmm.
There's no spiral. It's a circle. It's not a 3D moving upward circle thing. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Guess we will. Hopefully we'll be ready for it.
Yeah, hopefully we will be ready for it,
or at least hopefully we'll have a good view.
Yeah, best thing to do. It's like, all these years that we've been looking into it, so not everybody has. And even with the QAnon thing, it's just like within a year, suddenly everybody is like looking into the fucking conspiracy with no wisdom other than the fucking wisdom of Donald Trump to like guide the way.
Right, which is not wisdom.
Which is not wisdom, exactly. It's just like bad scenarios. So if enough people start experiencing this stuff, and we're here, just there's enough people around to hold space, being like, no, it's okay. Let's
exactly the nodes.
There's a huge effort to maintain this idea of authority and infallibility of like, the one source telling you. And when you're disempowered, you rely on somebody to tell you what to do, because when you're in fear, you can't think straight.
Right.
So there's this whole mentality now where it's like, don't question anything. Like, just fucking take our word for it. Right. Trust us. It's like in a chaotic situation, how could you not? But at the same time, it's like, the solutions are being offered by the same people that kind of created the problem in the first place. So how willing are we really to just let them tell us what we should think about this? So we'll see. And when it comes to business, I think one of the most important things we got to think about is how we're gonna make money. One of the things Aunt Margaret was saying, like when you start a business or you start like an LLC, something like that, is you go through all the paperwork. You have to pay like a minimum amount of taxes every year as a business. And what she was saying, I don't know if it'd be exactly the same for us, but it was like basically like, you have to pay $800 a year. And then the more money you make, you have to pay more. But the idea is like you get benefits if you're paying those dues every time. So something that occurred to me, I thought of was like, even if we were to just, instead of necessarily make an LLC at first, if we were to just open up a business bank account where we can get like a credit card and like have our name on the business name on the card, and then just on our own just start putting money, as we can into an account. That way that'd be a great idea. That'd almost be like an exciting way to trick myself into like spending money but not spending money. You know, be like, I can go out and pay $30 for a meal, or I could put $30 in our business account. I feel like that would be just as exciting. Be like, because we're building towards something. Yes.
So that'd be a great idea. I'm sure there'd be a lot of drunk late night like transfers. Like, all right, I'm gonna transfer $30 right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when it comes down to doing things like we would go out to lunch, or we need to get something, put it on the business card. It's like, I have the money to buy this myself, but I'm going to buy it with the business credit card. Then I'll just pay it off.
Be smart about it. Which I am not about.
We will be
with credit cards.
Yeah. No, me neither. That's the thing. Is like when we're going to pay for things with the card, we can't do it on credit. We have to do it because we have the money. We could just buy this with our own money. But we buy it with the card, and then we immediately put the money back into it, pay it off. But I think that would be a good first step that would allow us to not have to go through that
paying dues. And
because it's like we
should get that when we actually have a source of income. Where we can, and then start the LLC. Let's not put the cart before the horse, as they say. Because
that was so funny when I asked Aunt Margaret about it.
Which is something we would historically do, though.
It is, and that's why. And it was so funny when I brought this up to her, and she, I explained to her, about like our business model. We got together, put the suits on, and we came up with where our target audience is, and this is our goal, and blah blah blah. This is how we see it. And she's like, "That's really cool. I love that." And it's just like, the thing is, as a business, you got to think, how are you going to be making money?
Right.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Right. Like, because the template that we were using, they were selling like wooden toys. They had a thing that they were selling.
Yeah, like an actual
ours
legit
and
product.
our thing is abstract at this point. We don't have a thing like here's this thing, it costs $24.99. Like, we don't have that. We have ideas and we have all of our other stuff, but we don't have we don't have short films. We don't have music or sound effects or anything that we can actually sell at this point.
Yeah, and so some of the ideas that could come into that of products we could sell, like when it comes to the podcast here, the more we start doing this and having like a business account and all that, is make an effort, set an intention to bring sponsors in, like help other as a step of like, we're selling something that's not ours, but they will give us money to sell their thing.
Right.
So that's like one avenue. Of course, there's things like T-shirts and hats, and that's like, yeah, but we don't want to. That's in a way that's kind of like putting the carriage in front of the horse.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be good to have. Like,
Eventually, that's definitely something we could do. I mean, that's how a lot of bands make their money, but of course, bands create music, so they have that going. They don't just make T-shirts.
Right. But that it's a part of our brand. I mean, the whole vision that we came up with is that's a pretty substantial brand. An idea of like an idea that you want a movement. It's a movement, really, rehabilitating artists and facilitating the creation of art in a world where people are so at a standstill with that a lot of the time. So even like the shirt, like the put the sign that said the beginning is near, and like, who is Ron Paul, like making shirts like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not who is Ron Paul. Everyone knows who Ron Paul is.
I mean, but still, that's the joke, though. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Who is Ron? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that could be a cool thing to do, like having some.
Agreed. I mean, making T-shirts is very doable and very. I mean, you could literally do it all on the internet.
Yeah.
In one night, and you can order 1,000 T-shirts, and you can have them in a week.
Yeah, and I think they even have services too where it's like you don't even have to have them in house. Like, you can basically set it up remotely, so when they buy a shirt, they come in from like we don't have to literally send out the shirts.
Yeah.
Like, they get sent out from a company,
right?
Which would be cool. I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah, I mean, then that's a physical product you can sell, but I think this getting sponsors through podcasts, I think is a good start as well, because that's something that we can do consistently. And I think there's always, new up and coming companies that are trying to reach new audience. If we can find somebody who's looking for the same audience that we have, I guess that's the connect, right? You want somebody who wants to sell something to the people that are going to be listening to what we're talking about. Yeah.
Like there's a one place I was thinking, there's in the Oceanside, there's the Artist Alley where I got my earplugs. And it's this guy who just started his own business and sells a lot of art and body art and things like that. But like places like that, go and be like, hey, really love your thing, get into conversations, find people that are on the same page with us. Be like, hey, come on down to the studio. We'll set up another microphone. We can have a conversation, promote your product. It'll go to your audience. You can promote it. Then we can promote it. It's just like that whole idea of just cross-pollinating our audiences.
Yeah. I mean, to get the audience as wide as possible.
Yeah, like there's, like for Uncle Bruce, it was very clear their product was a book. That was how it started. They self-published in the beginning, and it was wildly successful.
So how about you write a novel, Alex?
Yeah, I'm working on it. There's this whole idea of reincarnation and
but write it down.
Yeah, I know.
Write it in the book.
I know. I have it written. I have all these like notes and like graphs and ideas written down, but it needs to be told in a story. And I think the whole thing about I definitely need to.
I mean, that's. I mean, there. Of course, I'm looking at as far as writing screenplays. Of course, mandala is like our thing, but every other thing that I'm working on, which is my Private Eye script and then also the Brunch script, and then 2 Ninja Turtle scripts that are kind of way in the background. Yeah. But all of those other ones besides mandala are something that I'm looking as something to sell.
Yeah.
You know, of course I'd like to be involved in the process, but that's how I'm looking at them as things that we can make money off of. Like,
Yeah.
if I were to sell one of those scripts, that would directly go into our business. And that's how I'm viewing them, except for Mandala, obviously. But so I'm writing scripts, Alex. So write a fucking book, bro.
I'm going to write a book. Everybody, listen, I've got this book I'm working on right now.
Write it.
And I'm actually going to
Just
start
do it,
writing
dude.
it.
There's formats for books, but there's also, you can write it however the fuck you want, dude.
Yeah. No, I already know how it's going to start.
Cool. Dude, do you got voice memos and shit? Do you do voice memos to yourself?
I do, but they're fucking mixed in with like,
okay.
you know,
They're not organized.
That was another thing.
Well, go through and organize those motherfuckers.
I know. I got to
transcribing them. The computer probably could write the book for you, dude.
Yeah, computer.
Computer, write my novel. Number one.
Shut up, Wesley. Wesley, like a little bitch.
But by the way, why did they get rid of? Was there like drama? Why they got rid of his mom, the actress, in the first season?
Beverly Crusher?
Yeah.
I don't think there was drama. I think she.
Or was it just like one?
I think she had a baby.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, it was like, because she wasn't that bad, but I like the new woman better. So I was wondering if there was like that pilot. You know, the first season is of course she does. But if seeing the first season as like a pilot, because always in the pilot they're always like, oh, and then they're like, that actor's not good, and then all of a sudden there's new people. So I was like, maybe they went through the first season, they were like, we could do more with her.
Yeah,
I still liked her, but the new lady is more like fierce and snarky.
She is. I miss one of the characters I missed was from season 1, Tasha Yar, the head of security, the blonde woman that was in charge of security.
Short hair.
That died on Farpoint, I think it was, or like that fucking black sludge that came up out of the water and was like,
I liked her too, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked her. Data liked her. Data was in love with her. I think I think her and Data fucked.
Yeah, I think they did. They definitely had a thing.
Yeah.
Data.
But no, she comes back.
Okay.
She comes back. Yeah.
But yeah.
Beverly and what's her name? The not number one, the one that number one has got the hots for. I'm blanking on her name.
Troy,
Deanna Troy.
Yeah.
So hot.
Yeah, she's great, and I love her. You know, her character.
Yeah,
she seems. She'd be the one that I'd go after too. Like
for sure,
you know, like the hybrid of telepathic person / half human and just like intuitive. That definitely, they're
really cool. They're a cool race.
She's my type. What is she? I've asked you this before. What is her? She has some sort of accent in real life.
In real life, yeah, I'm not sure what it is in real life, but there's.
What were we just talking about that we're doing that we went to?
Writing a book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a book.
Write a book.
I know,
okay.
I know.
And then we could sell the book, and we can tour, and you can lecture, and then we could do like podcasts on the road, you know, like they do, and then we could start making money, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
She American?
Betazoid.
Yeah, but I mean, in real life, where is she from?
In real life, she's a Taurus Marine Surtees. British American.
Oh, interesting. Maybe she's just like hiding her British accent, and that's
Greek.
Greek?
Yeah.
Ah.
Her parents are Greek.
Okay. But she grew up in England?
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense
that
for
makes
weird
yeah.
And then trying to suppress while also sounding 24th century-esque.
Yeah. The
great.
Betazoids are really cool.
Yeah, her mom's a piece of work though.
Oh my god, it's so annoying. Can you imagine having a telepathic mom?
Oh my lord.
That would be a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it would. I mean, you wouldn't have to hide anything, which would be nice, but
yeah, I think my book would be centered around it's not just a story. Is. You're right. Thank you. My book is
Alex is writing a book, everybody. It's happening right now.
I'm writing a book. It's 20 to 12. And I'm writing a book.
Yes.
It's all about synchronicity. It tells my personal journey with coming to the realizations that living in a world that we're living in, with some tools to take us into the new paradigm, because that's the thing, that the cultural beliefs that we have. We all have our own personal beliefs, and those are constantly changing. But what does it mean for our culture when everyone all believes different things, or when belief is completely in question? So if we're going to survive in this world, we should have some cultural beliefs that we can all share, that are going to be a good foundation for us to actually live in the present moment with and envision ourselves in the future. So I don't want to just be it's not just a book. It's more of a like a guidebook.
Okay.
A little bit nonfiction.
Cool.
Yeah. Funny.
So like not you wouldn't want would you avoid the label of the self-help book too?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean,
it's a big market.
It might fit in that market.
It's a big market.
It probably actually would
Yeah.
fit in that market.
Get on Oprah, dude.
Yeah.
She'll fucking sign you up.
Yeah. I'll go on Oprah and I'll tell her the truth that
Yeah.
we never die, we're never alone. and that
Oprah's
time
on
is
her
hologram.
own. Isn't Oprah on her own? I mean, she's always kind of been open to stuff, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
So I think she'd be.
Yeah. I can come in. I'm actually gonna have evidence.
Wasn't Uncle Bruce supposed to? Wasn't there some Oprah Uncle Bruce connection, or am I
No,
speaking out of turn here?
That was the idea. That was like the
Okay.
plan. He wanted to get on Oprah.
Sure,
but it's
sure.
just kind of
Well, maybe it's for you.
Yeah,
that's your job.
I'm gonna go on. Yeah, that's my job. I'm going on.
All right, Alex is going on Oprah,
Yeah, I'm gonna be on Oprah,
which automatically makes you a New York Times bestseller. If you're on Oprah and she talks about your
Yep.
book, for sure you're a bestseller.
Yeah,
And then we can get rocking, dude. God,
yeah.
what's
Because
taking you so long?
we can heal our culture.
Mhm.
We can heal ourselves. And we can own the reality that we are eternal. We are eternal. We never die. We're never alone. And we can change ourselves. Nothing is set in stone. So
That's a nice reminder for a lot of people, I think, because you feel like you can get locked into the way that you are, the way that you have been, and you're a victim of your own self.
Yeah.
I think the ability to know that no matter what part of life you're in or how deep you are or how shallow you are, it's going to take work. Like, don't pretend like it's just, the old easy to sell.
And the big part of the book is all about the red pill amendment, which is,
Right.
of course, it's going to take time. However, there is a shortcut. And the thing is, it's not a rule. It's not a law. You don't have to do this. Like a lot of cultures you have to do these like ayahuasca ceremonies.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but it is absolutely relevant for us to understand how we got here. And also, if we're having troubles, we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's there if you want to have that experience. And if you're struggling to wrap your head around the idea that you're never going to die, that death is an illusion, that death is not the opposite of life.
Mm-hmm.
Death is the opposite of birth. Those are two sides of the same coin of life,
Right.
and you can't have one without the other. And when you die, you're basically just being reborn again. It's a you can think about that and be like, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I read some books that make sense, but like, how do you really know? You'll never know until you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what?
There's a cheat.
There is a cheat, and the key. That's what the Brian Muraresku wrote about in the Immortality Key. The Immortality Key, title of the book. It's not psychedelic brews and having these rites of passage experiences. It's not that's not the key to immortality. The key to immortality is to die before you die. To have an experience that basically kills your ego, kills this concept of the self, and then you are reborn into the reality of the bigger picture that it's all one, and that's an illusion of self and others. So it's we are in a prison of our beliefs, and it's like a lot of this is built off of Uncle Bruce's stuff, but this book is more so geared towards the philosophical, spiritual, cultural implications of these changing beliefs that we need to adapt. Because if you look at the beliefs as they have been, that death is the end of your end of life,
End of everything.
the end of everything. Death is the end, or you're alone and separate. You're separate. You're separate from me. I'm separate from you. You're alone here. We're alone on this planet. There's no one else out there. You're essentially locking yourself into a prison when you start to really visualize what this is. And then, of course, time being linear. You can't change the past. You can't see the future. So you're essentially just in this little solitary confinement box of beliefs. We don't think about it all the time. These are all the questions that religion has been striving to make sense of for thousands of years. Science is trying in their own way, but they're coming at it from separate points of view. And this is not a world of separation, because that's the whole new change of beliefs. It's like, okay, well, let's put birth and death back together, and then you get life. Let's put the self and the others back together. You get life. And if you take the past and the future, you put those together, you get the present moment. So really, it's going to be a guidebook on how to be more free and more happy in the present moment in a spiritual, philosophical way.
Beautiful.
So this is the book that's coming out.
Cool.
Really,
Where can I pre-order it?
you can pre-order it on
Bob at zobgob.com.
yeah, Bob at zobgob.com. It's the I was going to say Amazon, but they don't exist anymore.
Oh, right.
Amazon was destroyed by the aliens.
It was dissolved. It was self-dissolved. I think it became actualized. It became self-aware and then destroyed itself.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it got snapped out of existence.
Right,
Thanos just no more Amazon. Amazon disappears. All the trucks drive.
That'll be fun. Okay, cool, man. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for all of us.
Can't wait for the book tours.
Yeah, we're gonna go on book tours. We're gonna go to travel the world.
Can we go to the White House?
We can go to the White House.
That'd be cool.
We can go to the United Nations. We can. I really want to go to South America. I want to go to Peru. I want to go to Machu Picchu.
Let's do it.
I want to go to Mexico.
Yeah,
I want to go
American
to the
tour.
fucking. We should do that maybe soon. Like
Okay.
we could go to Mexico and go to those fucking pyramids, dude.
Yeah.
Film some shit there.
Yeah. Is that in like the outskirts of? Is that Mexico City? Like there's some near Mexico
Honestly,
City.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Somewhere in Mexico. We can go to the Yucatan. We should just do a Mexican tour.
Sure. Yeah.
I've never been to Mexico.
Neither have I. A good friend of mine is from Mexico City.
Yeah.
He can give us. He could be a good tour guide. Shout out to Marco.
Well, let's call it a day.
Let's do it.
We got more work to do.
Always.
We got work to do. We got barbecuing to do.
Mm.
Got a book to write. I already wrote the book, but I just got to catch up with
It's
myself.
all in my head. I forget. There's a writer quote. It's like when they're yelling at him to write it. He's like, "It's all in my head. What, you want me to write it down?" You know?
Yeah. That's how- exactly. Yeah, dude. I'll just tell you what's in the book.
Yeah, right.
No one reads anymore anyway.
Cool.
Last thing is I read 2 books, or I listened to 2 books on the way to Uncle Bruce's, on the way up and on the way back. I listened to this book called The Chalice and the Blade, which is an old book about ancient partnership cultures that were driven by matriarchal systems of control, where women and the mother goddess, all those ancient statues of like really like voluptuous kind of like chubby women, the mother goddess.
Yeah.
And at some point there was a shift into a dominator culture. So you go from this partnership culture that really worshipped women into a culture where men were dominating over everything. And it's a really cool book. Just kind of applies to everything. Okay. And then I listened to The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
Which is like a classic book. And that's fucking crazy, dude. That was written in 1954. And Aldous Huxley basically just took mescaline one day. And his whole book is just him like talking about his mescaline trip. And he was a really well respected, like articulate, intellectual person. And this guy is just like, I took the mescaline and then I looked at my chair and all of a sudden the entire universe made itself completely clear to me. And it's just like, it's just him. It's like it's just like, I looked at my chair and then boom, and then like he gets all these crazy ideas.
It's
like,
written that way? Like
it's written in
first person?
First person. I had a trip, then this happened, then this happened. And I saw that.
I didn't know that.
It's crazy. It's really cool. And that's where he gets the whole idea of doors of perception. He's like, dude, we're living.
What's the quote?
Was like from The Doors.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but it was something like, you live in a box and there are these doors and windows to the outside world, and life is all about opening these doors, closing these doors, and the doors expanding so that there's more light coming in. It's really all about light. So we don't really see the real world. We just see the world through these filters of perception.
Okay.
And that by altering our perception, we can change the way that we see the world. And then that literally changes the world.
Makes sense to me.
It's really cool. I recommend you listen to it or read it. All of you out there, same. But John Allen.
Alex Lipton.
Been a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
As always, man.
All right.
Thanks for having me. Congress of Wizards.
Thanks, everybody, for watching to this point. We look forward to seeing you. Like and subscribe. Comment down below if you wish. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.